Good. I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Declaration of potential conflict of interest. Anyone? Erica? Sue? No. Celeste?
None.
I would just like to state for the record, as we continue to discuss the middle school, that I am an employee of the school district and that my kids go to the emergency child care. Recognition of the Parks and Rec Employee of the Month. This month, for the month of September, it is Anna Santilli. Where is she?
Where'd she go? Anna, come on up.
Oh, there she is. I can't see you back there. Hi. Anna Santilli has been an amazing helper at the Seaside Farmers Market this summer. When it's time to set up and take down tents and tables, she jumps right in and does whatever is needed to get the job done. She has wonderful customer service skills and is eager to help patrons with information or processing EBT transactions so they have tokens to purchase fresh produce. She is also skilled at anticipating what our vendors will need, helping us collect vendor fees and process other requests. We have been so lucky to have her help at the market. Thank you, Anna. If you could please come forward. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is for you.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Approval of board meeting minutes. I know Mike had some concerns about.
I had a couple of comments on the board minutes in general. I think we're fine. I had comments on the minutes for the meetings August 13th and August 17th, which was an interview workshop. I felt that the interview for candidates, that the candidates should be named. And also, I don't think we included a record for the candidates, the 4 candidates we interviewed on the 17th. So we interviewed 9 candidates in total, not just 5. And I wasn't sure, it may be board discussion, whether or not we should name the candidates. We're grateful for the significant level of application, but I would suggest we amend the minutes with regard to that.
Have we, I can't remember if we have named them in the past, Skylar, do you remember?
We've done both, so I'm fine with adding them, and that's a good suggestion. Thanks, Mike.
And I definitely see his point about adding the 4 so that we show
Sure.
that we did 9.
Yeah.
I had a couple comments on the September 1st notes. The wording for on page 8, I think the board unanimously voted to retroactively to the December performance review date in all of that. I think the wording isn't quite, I don't think that's how we phrase it. Is
Okay.
that?
I can go back and listen, I think, yeah.
I mean, that's the heart of what we wanted, but I think the wording might have been a
Sure.
little differently.
Let's rephrase.
I actually, can I speak?
Absolutely.
I actually had written, the board completed a new performance review retroactive to 12/19 and, or December of 2019, and awarded a 4% merit increase in salary. But I had a comment on that on page 7. First of all, the board action, the sentence across from there, didn't we unanimously vote to go into executive session, not leave it?
No, right above it is where we voted unanimously to go into executive session. The board
Right.
action is where we leave.
So why did we leave it and then we have all these notes?
Because in executive session is where we have our discussion, and then in order to take action, we have to leave executive session to take action.
Okay. And the only other question I had, a few lines down, it talks about me. Ms. Coddington shared that there should recognize that the pool operations have resumed. I thought what I had said, I shared that there be recognition, especially since most Oregon pools are not yet open, that the pool and operations have resumed. So I thought that was important to make sure that was present.
I remember that discussion, yeah. Anybody else have any comments regarding the minutes? Celeste or Erica? Okay, so did anybody have any issue with the August 18th meeting minutes?
August 18th? Wait a minute.
Page 3.
There it is. That was our regular meeting. I did not have any comment on that, except that I thought correspondence looked misspelled. Isn't it ENCE?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a minor thing. We probably overlooked it in the past.
Thanks, Mike.
Has everybody had a chance to review those meeting minutes? Do we have a motion to approve those with the editing of correspondence?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the September 1st meeting minutes, we will need to edit and then visit next month, as well as the August 13th and August 17th meeting minutes.
All right.
Public comment, did we have public comment this month?
Hey, Rebecca, could you bring the public comment slip up? Thank you. Sign this one. It's just the one that.
Thank you. Mary Blake, please.
Well, I wanted to eagerly speak to an article I read in the Seaside Signal. And but before that, I wanted to welcome Erica and
Is there a microphone up there?
and thank you for your service.
There is, yeah. Might not.
I'm not getting it.
Mary, is there a button on that microphone?
Yes?
Could you push it?
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Okay. So welcome, you guys. Thanks so much for your service, and also for the service of the rest of you. It's good to see you, Erica. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board regarding the future of the district. For me, I believe it's not about a building. It's about moving to living systems, thinking, and building relationships. I believe that the quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to the quality of their recreation. And I want to thank Dr. Effie Fairchild for instilling that in me in my education. I also believe, what then is the right way of living? Life must be lived as play, and that's Plato. When I think about recreate, it equates to play to me. When I think about recreate, it's that option to create again. So I think that we ought to invite people to recreate in the 21st century. Who would have known what would have happened in the days that we're living in now? Reimagine and recreate. This is our time to set up a new system based on our ecosystem, a whole living system, informed by our hearts versus our head, and based on a sustainable triple bottom line: planet, people, and profits. For almost 30 years, our mission was to provide safe, quality, accessible, aquatic, recreation, and special events to our local community and guests to our area. And in 1938, our city had a vision for Broadway Park from Roosevelt to Wahana. Broadway Park has become the heart and soul of our community. The school, pool, library, youth center, senior and community center, garden, playing fields, skate park, playground, fire department, chamber, visitor center, city hall, restroom, and parking lot all on Broadway, inviting you to the turnaround to experience the Pacific Ocean. This is one of the best places on the planet. All these complicated systems have worked together so far for our community, but not all of our community, here or worldwide. Our society has been living in an extractive economy based on inequities and unsustainable practices, or an ecosystem. We must move to a regenerative economy based on transformational living practices, an ecosystem recreating a new way of living, nurturing cooperation, diversity, inclusion, equity, a more democratic process. Everyone counts. We must be bold community leaders informed by the heart, doing the right things, doing things right, all for the right reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Lee? Leonard. Thank you.
I don't usually speak up because I don't like to, but I just feel like I know it'd be great to get the middle school, but I'm really concerned about the pool. Ever since I came here 4 years ago, it has gone downhill, and every time I go, I would say it was always broken, either the hot tub or the warm pool, what I use. And I was going to go back this week, and I just found out that the boiler is broken again, and we've known that for a long time, that the boiler is not good, that it needs to be replaced, and I just feel like we need to put our money into that before we start getting a big building if we can't even fix the building we have now for the pool. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Margene Rideout?
It's read out. Excuse me. I have concerns about the so-called questionnaire for Broadway School that is out. I heard it was coming out on the 31st of August, and I looked on the website. I could not find it. Finally, last Tuesday, someone told me it was on the Facebook page for the Park and Rec. I'm not part of that group, but I logged, she gave me the link, and I voted. So I went back to the website for the Park and Rec, and it still was not there. I called the district office. I spoke to someone. They took my name, my email, and said they would get it to me. It's been a week. I still haven't got it. Fortunately, it is on the website now, so people can vote. But if you want a sampling of everybody, you need to get the word out. But maybe you don't want the sampling of everybody, because I see you're having a real estate discussion on the executive session. So, you know, we voted no on it once before. Please listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Reed?
My comments are regarding acquisition of Broadway Middle School facilities for youth programming. I don't know the specifics of it, and I've mentioned to several people that I am interested in being a part of that discussion. But I am an advocate for expanding all resources for children's care in the city of Seaside, whether it be before or after school care, pre-K learning, or all-day childcare. As stated in the U.S. House resolution this June of this year, co-written by our Representative Suzanne Bonamici, that all young children and families should have access to high-quality childcare that is affordable for families, and that parents depend on high-quality childcare so that they can work and support their families. Childcare is difficult to find for millions of U.S. families, particularly for approximately 58% of low-income children younger than 6 years old whose parents work non-standard hours, when only 8% of child care centers provide evening weekend care. Cost of child care in the last 10 years has increased 25%. And as we know, we live in a community and in a region with, we share the issues in a lot of communities with child care deserts. Department of Health and Human Services recommends no more than 7% of household income should go towards child care payments. So it is within our grasp to create a true partnership between the City of Seaside, Sunset Empire Parks and Recreation District, and the Seaside School District to provide suitable locations, programming, and staffing for all levels of childcare. It is going to take a lot of willpower and prioritization, but I know we can do it. How we care for our kids is a true reflection of who we are as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Marty Weiss.
I too am speaking against the acquisition of the Broadway Middle School. To the Board of Directors, I was appalled to learn that Skylar Archibald, Executive Director of the district, is once again embarking on a campaign to buy Broadway Middle School in an attempt to expand the district. The citizens of Seaside already voted down the measure to purchase Broadway Middle School a couple of years ago. How many times do we have to say no? I think it's very convenient that Skylar has managed to manipulate the situation, so he now has a brand new hand-picked board, which is once again considering purchasing the middle school, even after everybody said no. We don't need to annex the middle school. We do, however, need an administrative body that is capable of maintaining the facility we already have, and it is clear that the current administration just doesn't know how to do that. Skylar came to the district from Pacific University, where he was the girls' intramural sports coordinator. He has no prior experience of running an aquatic facility. Let me cite for you a few examples of his demonstrated ineptitude. During our first shutdown, with Skylar in charge, the men's locker room was remodeled and essentially wrecked. He had flooring installed in the women's shower area that gets slippery when wet and very slippery when it's soapy. In fact, after slipping in a puddle and falling down very hard, one of the district's patrons died several weeks after the fall. During the first few months of Skylar's tenure, the HVAC system broke down, and to answer the problem, he used plug-in space heaters to heat the women's locker room. This lasted only a few weeks once Seaside Fire and Rescue learned of this. The people have already voted no on purchasing the middle school. We ask that you abide by our vote and say no. Thank you for your attention to the most serious matter. I'm asking that my letter be included in today's minutes, and I'm also asking that the board take charge of compiling the minutes as it's supposed to do according to the district, the Special District Association, and not have Skylar write the minutes up. I cannot tell you how many times I've asked for letters to be included and minutes to be amended to include what really happened. It has come to my attention and many others that Skylar seems to leave out some of the matters that we have brought up during the public comment, like my submitting a petition about, 6 months ago? We had no hot water in the women's shower for about 3 months.
Thank you,
We
ma'am.
were told that we were showering at the wrong time, that it's an on-demand system. I tried to submit a petition. No mention of the petition was in the minutes, nor the fact that anyone made a comment about the hot water.
Marty, thank you.
Yes, well, Mary Blake got to speak over a few seconds. I'd like to know what one has to do
Because
do that.
her microphone was not on.
'Cause, well, last month, she spoke for almost a half an hour.
Donna Suno? We actually can't pass the minutes on to another person, so would you like to make public comment?
Is that a new, is that new?
It's on the minutes as you, or as, on the expectations as you signed in.
Really? Then last year, when I gave my minutes to Mary Blake, that shouldn't have been okay, but she took them and everybody looked the other way.
Correct. Donna, would you like to make comment? Wally Hammer?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I don't know a lot of the background here, so I'm just going to say something from my heart. One thing I do know for sure is that the kids in this community are lacking practice facilities for their sports, not just basketball, which I'm involved with a lot, but I'll give you an example. Last year I went to my grandson's practice. There was 5 additional teams. We started at 4 o'clock. Gerhardt School was used from 4 o'clock to about 9 o'clock. That school is no longer there. If Broadway leaves, I don't know where our kids in our community will practice the various sports that were there for practicing when we're losing all the gyms. So I'm very supportive of keeping an open mind about looking into Broadway. It's a need that we have in our community. I don't see, when I look at our community, I don't see any other opportunities for kids. So other communities I go to see lots of opportunities. This particular community, which I've lived here for a long time, we're closing down those opportunities for kids. So I'm advocating for whatever we can do, keeping an open mind to it at least. Thank you.
Thanks, Wally. Correspondence, looks like we have 2.
Yeah, so you have one in your packet that was submitted correspondence by Ms. Weiss at the last board meeting. And then you have 2 items that were added in the last day or so. One from Mary Blake and one from Carrie Janik of the Pacific Basketball League.
Thank you. Review financials for August. Has everybody had a chance to look them over?
I'm glad to see the summary on the front page of the printed packet. I didn't see it on the online packet. Well, but I think that's useful. I know things are kind of a little bit up in the air, and we probably will have a supplementary budget sometime soon, but I was looking at the revenue and expense report, and It seems like we're running a little high on legal expense, which probably has a good explanation. But I'm wondering about how we're going to manage what the numbers look like for the youth center and the preschool and daycare programs. It looks like our expense is ahead of the revenue. In that regard, I'm sure the numbers are probably accurate. But I'm wondering how we'll handle that in the future.
Yeah, I think maybe I can share a little bit. Obviously, this is kind of an unusual situation that we're experiencing for this fiscal year. We revised the budget based on some expectations of where our revenues would come from and what we might be able to offer to the community. And some of that is holding true, but some of it is certainly not, especially when it comes to our aquatic programs. We're used to being able to offer some programs that generate a little bit more revenue, like open swim and swim lessons and private pool rentals. And we haven't been able to offer any of those in the 2.5 months since we've entered into this fiscal year. So you are going to see things a little bit different, Mike. But the good news is that we're trying to keep our expenses down as much as possible. We are working to apply for relief funds from the state and from the federal government to help cover some of the costs of our coronavirus relief efforts, including emergency childcare and some of the other programs and services that we're offering. And I can almost say for certainty that there will be a supplemental budget at some time. We're just kind of still sorting through how this will look and where our revenue will come from. The other thing that we're optimistic about is that maybe in the month of October, we're hoping to expand our aquatic programs a little bit and start to offer some of those programs and services back, like swim lessons and other such programs, and that will significantly bolster our aquatic revenue. There's good news to be had in there. I think our youth programs are doing really well, better than expected. And again, we're doing our best to manage expenses, and all of the expense lines are below the percentage where they should be, as for right now. But yeah, it is kind of concerning, Mike, and I think a lot of government agencies, special districts, cities, and counties are all in the same or similar position of just sort of not knowing exactly how to proceed.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sue, did you have any thoughts on the questions?
I think the
Sue?
numbers look pretty good. It's reassuring when you look back and to see how the projects we paid off our flex lease on the pool, and we paid off the Circle of Lights, which the foundation had helped us with, and Mary Blake had helped engineer in her tenure.
Yeah, I'm really glad, I guess grateful. There is a silver lining to be kind of done with those, that debt service that we had carried for a little while, and those projects were really worthwhile, but it's nice to be, have a little bit more flexibility in the budget to respond to what we're facing right now.
I think generally the finances could be approved. I move that we do that.
Was there any further questions from the rest of the board regarding the financials? No? All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Levi Connor.
Do you want a chair? Okay.
right into this. So I'm going to give you guys a little brief look into what we do day to day. So we'll start with the responsibilities that fall under our side of the house, which is Sunset Pool, Seaside Youth Center, and Mary Blake Playhouse, the Bob Chisholm Community Center, Broadway Field, and 2 community gardens. So with that, it's facility maintenance, grounds maintenance, multi-use sports field maintenance, special event setup, janitorial services for all those facilities, and the community gardens. So staff, we don't hire professional actors. So we're true and have a lot of passion to what we do every day. So currently, right now, we have 2 full-time maintenance positions. We're looking to fill that technician position, hopefully this week. 2 grounds maintenance, and then 1 dedicated person to the field, and then 2 custodial that is spread between all the facilities. Perception is a thing that in maintenance we deal with a lot, and it's usually negative. So just because you see something, are they working or are they not? There was. You don't see the whole picture, but we're working. There's a lot in the background that we do. Again, outstanding in the field means a couple different things. We don't know that that person right there is not doing something productive or constructive. We deal with a lot of vandalism. So every day that we come to work, staff makes their rounds throughout. So most vandalism occurs on the field and the skate park, which is kind of a national thing. There's nothing very specific to this city or this area. It's just something that we have to deal with. And when we have a 0 tolerance for graffiti, we try to get rid of it as soon as possible. We deal with a lot of vandalism. We lost 6 benches in the dugouts in the last couple weeks. So we move on to routine maintenance. It's the vandalism checks, trash runs, scattered trash pickup, pool water chemistry, tests, and then adjustments. That all takes time. And then we have work orders. I started a work order program a little over a year ago. And that's requests for services and maintenance needs. We extinguish fires, and that really just means that events that need immediate assistance comes up at times, and then administrative duties. Special projects. The current project we're working on is the basketball court lighting. And so that is a current picture of what it looks like right now. We're getting ready to get concrete poured into those foundations. And we do preventative maintenance. I've been here for a little over 3.5 years, and that was not really a priority thing. And so it takes time to actually develop a program, and then it takes time to actually get it going. So we go by the manufacturer's recommendations, and then obviously we're out at the coast, and so there's a formula that we take a huge percentage off just because of the environment. So what we're currently doing preventative maintenance on are boilers, HVAC units, motors, and fitness equipment. These are high dollar pieces of equipment that are crucial. So right here we have the heat exchanger for the natatorium HVAC that went down a week or so ago. This is a unique new state-of-the-art heating system. Up in here there's a little tiny pinhole, and it's a coil system. It's a glycol system. So glycol sits in there, and that right there is all soot. That right there is very dangerous. So upon a 3-month service interval for maintenance, I discovered that, and we put it out of commission, and we're waiting for warranty work. So things do take time. Good old COVID. So we have done preventative measures. It takes a lot researching what the CDC and the OHA requires, and then actually seeing if we can actually put it into practice. Securing the proper PPE and using and acquiring the approved EPA disinfectants. And then providing the training. And then securing the proper equipment. So we set up special events. Maintenance department acts as a logistics advisor. We assist IT with technology needs and requests. We manufacture props for like the Halloween and Santa swim, and we set up for board meetings every month. Take care of the community gardens. We manage the plot rentals and the contracts. We rebuild the boxes, deliver the soil. We work with the gardeners. And every single plot has been rented this year, which is a first, which is great. We also take care of the beach wheelchairs, and we provide preventative maintenance and repairs. This is a photo recently of a family that came down, and they were really excited that we actually could offer this. And I know we have a huge request for more. I think I skipped a slide. I wanted to introduce myself and give you a little history of, I come from Boise, Idaho. I have over 20 years in the parks and recreation industry. So I went from sports fields to swimming pools, and we call the infrastructure unit. So we took care of everything that did not grow. So that's building maintenance, facility maintenance. We had over 100 developed parks and another 30 parks that were undeveloped. As the city was growing, we were acquiring that tax base to support. And we had several little pocket parks. And so being in an organization like that, that's been in the top 5 in the Sunset magazine and Parks and Rec magazines throughout the nation for over 15 years, we did things right. We looked ahead, and I bring a lot of that experience here. I made a lot of changes, and we're moving forward, and of course things take time. So bear with me and my department. We'll get things going. We don't have access to a lot of vendors and stuff like I did back home. So there's a lead time. So sometimes that can be discouraging to patrons and other staff and me. I don't like to let things linger. So I'm very busy on the phone. So I want to thank you, board members, and I appreciate your time and commitment. So that is it.
Thanks, Levi.
Levi, when you have a second, I have a couple questions for you. The vandalism, you mentioned that we had lost benches. Are they literally taking our benches?
No, it's a that's something that we will be doing in the next.
What is the city's response about the losses in the school district? I saw a note that the school was helping pitch in and to do the repairs. How is that being paid for? Is the city helping with some of that?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
It's Scotter's question, I guess.
Yeah. All I know is it's on my list to get to make some repairs.
Yeah.
Workshop, something that we can work out with the school district and work with that. It would fall under an insurance claim.
Well, you're kind of on the hot seat now because the main boiler is dysfunctioning and the water's a little bit cooler than usual in the main pool?
A little bit,
Yeah. So, I know it might be early to tell. How expensive will that repair be?
I have no idea. Can't tell you.
Do you have a list of other major pieces of equipment that might need capital expenditure in the very near future? Is there a way that we could compile something like that and hang a number on it? And maybe we should, we live in we have an aging facility, no question, and we're seeing an increase week after week, year after year of more frequent repairs and longer shutdowns and more frequent shutdowns. Maybe it's time we looked at a capital budget for, replacing the guts of our system.
To speak on that, when I started, it was clear that a lot of preventative maintenance was done, and there's a lot of aging equipment. So once you institute something like that, it puts a lot of wear and tear. You introduce a new part, something that's moving, it puts a lot more stress on the other part. So it's just going to be a chain reaction until you try to chase that. So then you have, like that boiler that went down just the other day, has a 20-year lifespan from the manufacturer. You move it out here, it's automatically 8 years. So if that's around a $10,000 boiler, but you try to project that. And so I have started this projecting for capital purchases, going through all the equipment, which takes time, figuring out the end of life for it, and then calculating the depreciation based on 365-day use. And some of these cars are running 24/7. So you factor that in, then you take it off the cost, and then you figure out when are you going to, and when do you need to replace it, budget for those replacements. So we're in the very early stages of developing that, but it takes time to develop that data, especially going back into the history and finding out how much did it really cost. Right now, things are overpriced. So, and then there's a lot of parts that aren't being made right now because those factories are still closed. There's a lot of things, and we're early in. I have the thing torn down, the whole boiler torn down, and we're doing investigative work. So hopefully it's just something minor and we can get back up and running.
How much have you seen the COVID kind of slow your ability to procure the parts that you need?
Oh, over 500% or more. It's amazing how this can just disrupt. It's even one organization. Everybody depends on everybody else. So the supplier, the sales rep depends on the supplier, and then the supplier depends on the distributor. The distributor then, to the manufacturer, and if you have a case or exposure, that affects everybody. And in the swimming pool industry, that's huge. So, and they're very territorial too. So what you can buy on the West Coast can't be sold on the East Coast. They use Mississippi as the boundary. So, but then you have Texas that can do everything in the South. So we're unfortunate. We're limited to what we see out of California.
I do have a very important question for you, Levi. What were the maintenance people doing in those pictures?
Oh. One that was sitting on the chair.
Yeah.
We were taking old chairs out and putting in a drop for recycle. So it was a hot day. We sat down and took a picture. But yeah, we were actually working.
I had no doubt.
Yeah.
Sue has a question.
Levi, is the warm water pool open and running?
Yes.
Thank
It
you.
has been for a few weeks.
Well, and that, I think that was an important thing for other people to know as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Levi, it's great to hear your experience and glad to have your expertise here. And I'm just curious, is there a standard of measurement in the industry for like uptime or and maybe even based on your experience in Idaho, like is there a way for us to measure, are we up as much as should be expected but for a facility our size? And is there a way to measure what the appropriate amount of uptime and downtime for maintenance is?
A good measurement would be the suppliers and how quick we can get pieces and parts and service and stuff. So out here, we're 2 hours away from anything. So that's about a day. That's 2 hours up, 2 hours back. And even if it's them coming to us, we're still paying their travel for both ways. So we're actually right about where we need to be, median. So I feel for this community where we lack a lot of suppliers and distributors for certain critical things, I think we're probably above. So our downtime, I heard stories from previous employees in the maintenance staff. I would take weeks, not weeks, but months for certain things. They would rely on this, but they would try a bubble gum duct tape solution, and it didn't work. So now it's just, prolong that. But I feel confident that we are at least ahead of what we need to be.
Thank you, Levi. Old business, Broadway School Community Engagement Process. Skylar?
Yeah, I believe on the new agenda, I actually took this off, and it's only because I figured that we would be discussing the middle school, but I'll share a few updates. We have released our Community Needs Assessment Survey, and as of about 12:30 today, we had 97 responses, which is really good, I think, and it's available on our website and on our Facebook page, and I think we had a little bit of recognition in the local paper about it as well. We're still kind of working on the presentation details and finalizing that schedule. Some events over the past few days have sort of thrown a little bit of a wrench into our potential plans, but that's where we're at with the engagement process.
And I believe you had mentioned that we had to wait until October to send it out with the water.
Correct, yes. Thank you for reminding me. We are sending it out with the City of Seaside water bills. It's going to go out to 3,300 residents here. I'm assuming that they're all district residents too, so that'll be really great feedback. We'll have a QR code in the website to take the survey, and then on the back we're going to publicize our upcoming Halloween and Thanksgiving events. But yeah, it won't go out until, I think the date is like October 13th or something like that. So we'll leave the survey open at least until a couple weeks after that so that we can hopefully gather more feedback.
Perfect, thank you. New business, I saw that you had included a draft of a purchase expenditure policy. Did everyone have a chance to read that over? It's on page 36.
Can I ask a question before? I thought we were going to review something about the several month ago budget, about the first and second, and maybe officially approve it correctly. What happened to that?
Oh, the first, you're right. The first and second because we didn't officially have a second. Do we?
I thought that you had approved those minutes, but then you had asked for clarification after the fact, and then I shared the information I thought with you about if this is kind of the way it went down.
We can't figure it out, so don't you think we should revisit it to clarify it? So there is a first and second?
I guess, yeah, that's totally up to the board. I'm fine with either way. I think there was a first and second, and then another first, and that first wasn't seconded. But there wasn't a first and a second and a unanimous vote, and then the board re-voted.
And in that one, there wasn't a second.
Correct.
So the first motion had a first and a second. The second didn't, which the second wasn't amended.
So we've done everything correctly.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if we were to go back and revisit it, Sue, at this point, it'd be a kind of a formality because we've already sent the budget to the Secretary of State and submitted to the county. And that was based on the successful adoption of the budget by the board at that time.
And I think we will be shortly revisiting the budget, so I think we're good from my standpoint. We had a first and a second, it got amended, and then we didn't have a second, but the whole thing had been voted on. How do you feel?
I feel like we floated over this once before and we're doing it again. So that's just probably my inexperience with it and with the process. But I feel like it's just a formality of a second, and we're pretty sure in private conversation that there was one. It just didn't get on the machine to be heard, because I don't know any of us who would have let that happen. But I've been told before that we will review the budget, and then I've been told, no, that budget went, to last year's money. So I just want to make sure there's a transparency and not a glitch. But to me, it's the formality of a first and a second when we're pretty sure that it was there. It's just, I think we need to make sure in the record it shows that we did note that and fix it, or address it as something that was done.
Well, I am open to a motion to reapprove that budget. However, Celeste and Erica, I don't know that they've had a chance to read that budget.
Good point.
How do you feel, Celeste and Erica?
Can you add just within these, like the minutes here, that was an action that we've taken? I mean, and then
Or could we make an acknowledgement?
Right.
Could we move to make perhaps we make a motion to acknowledge an acceptance of a first and second,
Right.
despite the lack of clarity, that we're accepting the previous first and second?
I think we could do that if somebody would like to make a motion or an acknowledgement.
So I make a motion that we accept that there was a first and a second on the adopted budget. What's the date on that? On the
Sorry,
blank.
1 second, I can find out.
This is the June 16th?
That sounds right. Yeah, June 16th was the date of that meeting.
On the June 16th meeting.
Do you have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Sue.
So we're still reviewing this purchasing policy?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
Good.
I feel the purchasing policy kind of fits hand in hand with, reviewing exactly where we are with IGAs and whether or not Scotter is going to approve an IGA. The IGA might have a certain value. It might have a certain financial impact, which is perhaps unbudgeted. It could be, I think, rather than say, that Scotter could do an IGA, per se, is there a limit to what we can do? I know Scotter wears several hats in the community. And Seaside Kids, I know that Scotter has a close relationship to them. But I know he's working for us. So if certain IGAs, if there's a potential conflict of interest on Scotter's part, perhaps, then the board might need to review it to be sure.
So previously, we had discussed with council that as a board, if we choose to, we can bequeath Skylar the ability to enter into IGAs, and we can make restrictions upon that. We can say up to a certain dollar amount, or if there's, add in the caveat that if there's conflict of interest.
It's kind of nice to know that possibly an IGM might be coming forth, to get some heads up as well, or that the board be informed of discussions with partnerships. In general, it's always good for us to know that. But as far as like approving purchases, if we've budgeted for something that is specific, it's kind of a moot point. The Scouter can go ahead and spend that money if it's approved. but there are things that it could be, I suggest that we increase the level of the executive director's authority to 25,000, which is how we left it with our previous director. But it would be up to Schuyler to manage his directors and their expense levels. Also, I'm not sure if we're using a purchase order system or what. I know some of the individual directors, have authority to make certain purchases. But I'm not sure if we're using purchase orders or how we're tracking those departmentally. I know we see summaries of expenses in the different categories of the budget, the Bob Chisholm, the youth center, the pool, and all that kind of thing. And I'm just wondering with our spending, how purchase orders are approved and whether or not we're using a purchase order system to track expenditures.
Erica?
Yeah, I was just going to ask too, I guess with that kind of purchase order, Schuyler, do you have like a financial reviewer? Is that?
Yeah, we do. We have, so those kind of purchase orders, although we don't have that specific system, go through the finance manager. We have the finance manager, one of their duties is to be in really close communication with all the managers, and the managers are tasked with being in close communication with the finance manager to make sure that expenses are budgeted for and that they're prepared and that we're all kind of on the same page. And the finance manager and I work together to make sure that I'm informed and pass that information on to the board. Now, there are things that come up, like we didn't budget for a new boiler in the main pool, and if that is the case where we do need to revisit it, then we'll have to kind of figure out, okay, where can these funds be pulled from and how will that work? But I think part of this policy is to see if the board wants to have explicit power to approve or deny those kind of purchases, or if they but if they want staff to have that power explicitly to make some of those choices.
Does the finance manager actually sign as well? Like, is there a signature from the finance manager on these expenses?
So the finance manager doesn't have all of the signing authority because
no, but just on top of the other signatures, so yourself or one of the managers?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're signing with, I don't know what system are you using, like a purchase order, and then they would sign that along with you?
I guess it's a little more informal than a purchase order. It's,
okay.
Usually just, hey, I'm here in your office, finance manager, and this is what's going on, and what do you think? And okay, let's go get Schuyler and let's talk to him about this.
Yeah.
Or there's an email exchange, but yeah. I think our finance manager might be here. I don't know if you want to speak
like
to
a
this.
paper trail, to me, I guess is what I'm saying,
Correct.
would probably be.
So we use, like Schuyler says, something is informal, but we also do
Give him a
a lot
microphone.
of formal.
Sorry.
Help me out.
Just walk all over the room.
We do a lot of formal processes, so.
Turn it. Is that?
Isn't it? Hello?
There you
Okay,
go.
there we go. So we have processes in place where staff will come to us, or come to me, or Schuyler, and make their formal request. During that process, we have forms that they have to indicate which line item it's coming out of. They have to indicate so that we know that it's budgeted. And then if it is not, or if it exceeds what we typically would say is like internally, or that I'm just not comfortable, like, well, that's a $5,000 expense. Let's go talk to Schuyler about that. And those are the processes, and then it allows for Schuyler and I and the manager to sign off on all of it, so that way we're making sure that we're tracking, that we went through all the steps to ensure that it is in fact a budgeted item.
Thank you. Any further questions for Marcus?
No.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
So I do have a question, just in general, in looking at the SDAO policy guidelines. So first of all, when we're talking about purchases, are we actually talking about procurement of, what are we talking? Because we don't want to be approving payroll, right? Like that is not.
Yeah,
so
we're not approving, or this policy wouldn't deal with payroll. That's part of the
Second,
excluding factors that this policy wouldn't cover.
second paragraph from the bottom.
I see, okay. And so I guess my question is about the necessity of this policy to approve, because in my opinion, I think the vehicle through which we approve expenditures is the budget. And if we're already providing that piece, the question is sort of why these arbitrary thresholds, and the Sdao policy already sort of defines small procurements versus intermediate procurements. So small procurements are anything not exceeding $10,000, and that there are rules for procurements up to $150,000 that are different. And so I would imagine you're already bound to those sort of approval processes and bidding processes. And so my question, I guess, to the rest of to my fellow board members is why we feel a need for an additional sort of hoop to jump over, an additional set of instructions.
Skylar can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's more of what we have experienced as a board in the past, that if we had had this piece of paper to hold up, some of the conflict could have been just done. If we had been able to say, yes, Skylar has the ability to enter into IGAs or not up to a certain dollar limit.
That's what oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just with what Celeste is saying, I think we have an opportunity to maybe reset the expectations, and that maybe we don't need a policy if one already exists, I guess.
Sure.
I would also question that the IGA, as I understand it, for instance, one of the ones that was in question having to do with the facility, wouldn't have met these thresholds anyways, right? Because there weren't actual expenditures, there are actual agreements that are taking place, and those agreements are also covered in Sdao policy around procurements. So, yeah.
I think the policy that we need is not necessarily dollar amounts for Skylar, it is giving him the ability to enter into IGAs.
I thought that this was what we were going to work on in the workshop.
It is, partly, if that's what we choose. This I feel Skylar felt some sense of urgency to bring this forward.
So can we ask Skylar, is this okay for us to table to the workshop, or we have some time to do that, or is there a specific use case that there is some urgency to this?
I'm fine with tabling it, and I'm fine with whatever the board decides to do. I think it's always been a little bit of a gray area that I try to operate in safely and communicate well with the board when there's expenditures or purchases that need to be made, either budgeted for or not budgeted for. But there have been times in the past where just unintentionally I've not been able to share, or haven't shared that information, and I'm trying to kind of, I think a policy down the road would help those situations not exist.
Yeah.
Not that they've been frequent, but just help so that I know exactly, okay, I'm over this amount, so I have to tell the board in this time frame, or have to get permission before we make the purchase. But there's no rush to expedite this policy and going forward, and we can lump it in with the IGA, the capacity to sign IGAs or other policies that you see fit. And I do think a workshop is more appropriate. I included it here because I think I had kind of communicated it out and didn't hear necessarily yay or nay on this. So just kind of bringing it and as much for the board as for the public to show that this is something that we're working on together to make sure that we're in a better place as an organization moving forward.
Yeah.
Transparency for sure.
Right.
Well, I would like to table it to tomorrow, since that's when our workshop is.
Yeah, I move that we table this till our workshop.
I second that, if
Opportunity
that's
and review it further.
I don't think we need to make a motion. I think we can just agree that we're going to discuss it during our workshop. Board communication.
Okay, so I put the initials of Erica on this one because she and I had emailed about this, and I'm not sure if she copied the rest of the board. And then the next item came actually from Celeste, and I'm not sure if these are more workshop items as well. But I know Erica, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you wanted to kind of establish some ground rules for how we were going to interact and what tools we would use for that.
Yeah, I think I think we should table that as well for the workshop. Probably both.
Yeah.
Do you want to table yours?
I would
Celeste?
also propose yes for the community commitments. While we've got a draft that we're looking at, I think it's important that we have more time to reflect on that piece. And I also think it would be great if, to understand the process, so we have a draft of some community commitments and whether or not that can be distributed in advance of our meeting tomorrow to board members.
Yeah,
To
so
review.
share more about what the community commitments, that's all of the agencies or partners that we have in the community that we work with, is that what you're
No,
looking
sorry,
for?
so specifically, the board had determined that it wanted to ratify or adopt a commitment to our community about what the board was going to live up to. So I have a Google document that I started a draft
Right.
based on some of the previous conversations we had, but I think our board wants to officially adopt, but we may need some editing to that document first. So I'm happy to forward that to you again, Skylar, if you'd like. And
Have the other directors seen that, or is that just
Yeah,
been
it's been
shared?
shared.
Yeah.
One thing I don't know I had brought up is just looking at maybe a different date for the workshop. I think we have a really full list here, and being able to be productive tomorrow with a lot of these action items, I think may be difficult.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we have had the opportunity to organize exactly what the workshop will look like based on some of the more urgent matters.
Sue, I know that you are going to be out of commission for a while. How long are you going to be out of commission?
Surgery is Thursday. The surgery is Thursday, and I am out of commission at least through the 25th.
Okay.
I mean, and at this point, what I was going to communicate, but not to everybody else, was if you aren't hearing from me, I may not be able to read, and so you may need to phone me.
Okay.
But my follow-up appointment is the 25th, and we'll see what comes.
We do have the luxury of having a fifth Tuesday in September, so we could tentatively plan on the 29th. That would be after, hopefully you're feeling better. That's in 2 weeks' time from tonight.
I will, it all depends on
Sure.
how things go. I did phone with the smoke, and they are planning on doing my surgery.
Okay.
So that's a good piece of information.
Mike, do you have any thoughts on postponing the workshop for 2 weeks?
Postponing the workshop that we're having tomorrow? Holy cow.
So we're not.
Can
Oh,
I
did
clarify,
not-
are we postponing the whole workshop, or are we postponing some of these items to
I
a different
didn't know we
date?
were postponing the whole thing.
My thought was to postpone the workshop. I don't think we've had the ability to organize an agenda that would be
We've
very
got
productive.
some
Wait, hold
urgent
on,
things.
hold on.
I know, I think we do have some urgent things, but I think, I was hoping some of those would be discussed tonight. I just don't know that everything has been organized very well for tomorrow, for it to be productive from my standpoint.
So I would amend and say that we maintain tomorrow's meeting, but perhaps table some of these until the 29th, because they're not quite so pressing. I think.
Tomorrow's meeting then?
I'm agreeable to that.
Like, what is the main agenda items, I guess, if we table these?
I think we can discuss, I mean, the purchaser expenditure policy, like these 3 items that were right here, we could discuss those tomorrow. Celeste sounds like she's got the community commitments draft ready. I mean, Erica, if you want to postpone yours a little later, we could do that on the 29th. The workshop was intended to be a jumping off point for starting our policies. So just kind of having a discussion on what we wanted to move forward with. I don't know that we necessarily need to have item, 1, 2, 3, this is what we're doing, but more of a discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
So maintain tomorrow and add the Tuesday, the 29th.
I think it's, I wanted to clarify, tomorrow is at 4 or 4:15?
It was published as 4, but we had discussed 4:15.
That's what I knew.
Yeah.
Well, we had some of the performance review communication that I think we should finalize. if we're going to go ahead tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so moving on, SDAO harassment training.
Mr. President, and to the other board, so we have a responsibility to complete a harassment training provided by special districts. It's about 30 minutes. Just given the time that we were at in our meeting, I think we can definitely postpone that for another time if the board opts for that. It's a webinar, so we'll just log in at some point. We could do it tomorrow or at a future workshop. We just need to have it done by the end of November, in order to comply with our insurance provider special districts. If that's okay, I'm okay with that. Staff participated in the training on Saturday at the all-staff training, and I just kind of had lined it up ideally so that the board could participate also, but I'm okay with delaying that if you are.
I think we can put that off to potentially tomorrow, add that to our agenda.
There's also a way that you can complete the training in your own home, and I can try to set that up for you. In the past, we've done it all together because of technology challenges, but if you'd like, I can send that to you, and you'll be able to do it on your own leisure.
How long is it?
It's about 30 minutes.
I think we just need to make sure we can fit this all in.
Okay.
Without, yeah. So once we maybe pull together the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Executive Director report.
Okay, just a couple things to cover. Obviously, we're still deep in the midst of operating with a different set of rules and guidelines in COVID, but things are going pretty well. I'm really proud of our staff for continuing to be professional and flexible. We initiated our emergency child care program yesterday, as you all probably know, and we're serving as many kids as we're allowed to serve, with plenty more wanting to participate. But we're just a little limited right now with staffing and space, but it's going really well. I'm really proud of our youth program staff for taking the lead and trying to administer an environment, create an environment where students that are participating in the program can learn and also have the structure and support that they need to be successful while their guardians, their parents are at work. The pool, operations in the pool are going well. It's been a really challenging week with the smoke and ventilation system at the pool just being extremely taxed with the air quality outside. We are starting to see a little bit of progress over the last couple days, which is really nice. But obviously we had the boiler go down yesterday and are working really hard to assess that. I shared a little bit in an email about finances, but we have been really active in securing some finances, both from FEMA, from the federal level, and then from the state, or the state is passing through some money through the Coronavirus Relief Fund. We received the second round of funding through that, and we'll be submitting an application in the next week or so for an additional amount of funds. And again, we're limited in what we can apply for. We can't apply for lost revenue, and we can't apply for a new boiler, the cost of a new boiler, but we can apply for expenses that we've incurred as a result of the pandemic. That's it for that item. As far as our maintenance technician search, you heard Levi share that we've narrowed down a really strong candidate pool to 3, and we'll be interviewing those individuals on Thursday and Friday of this week. We have 2 candidates coming from other places in the Northwest, but all are regionally based. And again, it's really important that we have this other full-time person that we can share some of Levi's many duties and take a little bit off of his plate. Lastly, I just wanted to share, we're always planning for our special events. They're a big part of our district and what we offer to the community. Obviously, things this year are a little bit different. We have a new special events and marketing manager, Melissa, who you met. But just the state of the world is that we have to adjust some of our plans. So our Halloween event will take place on October 24th. Traditionally, we've had it here at the Bob Chisholm Community Center and then at the pool. We're not sure if we'll be able to offer anything at the pool this year, but we are going to offer a really fun Halloween event. We're moving it to the convention center where we'll have more space to socially distance. and a little easier time, I think, guiding participants to keep them safe and still have a really fun night for people, and we have some really good ideas. Also planning on our Thanksgiving events. We have a turkey trot that has been really well attended over the past few years with several hundred runners. And then we've traditionally served a Thanksgiving meal here in person at the Bob Chisholm, and we'd still like to do something. Whether we can offer a traditional meal will probably remain to be seen, but maybe a to-go meal or something like that. So always planning and always working, and I'm just, it's never a dull moment to work in any capacity, as you're probably finding in all of your lives, and certainly for me and our staff. I'm grateful for the hard work that our staff is doing just to continue delivering programs at this time.
I would just like to take this moment to say thank you to all of the staff who are very diligently working to find solutions to these challenges. So thank you to all of them. Executive session.
Catherine, can
Yeah,
I ask,
go
I
ahead.
just have a couple questions on the ED report. So Skylar, as I understand it, the childcare slots opened up, is that correct? And
Correct.
can you give I know that filled up quickly. Could you give us an overview?
Yes, thank you, Celeste. So we opened up the slots, oh man, it was the Friday before last. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but maybe the 4th, so around the 4th. And I believe that we only had registration open for a matter of 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
Before they were full. And we had obviously tried to share when we were opening those, especially with our families that have been using our program for preschool and for other services, so that they knew. But yeah, there was a significant demand. I believe we have a number of families on the wait list. And as I believe Mary said in her public comment, I mean, Rebecca said this in her public comment, thank you, that we're in a childcare desert and there's just a significant lack of providers right now. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but really proud of our staff and the work that they're doing.
Super important service, I think, and I thank your staff for looking for ways to serve the young people that are on the waiting list, because I think childcare is so important to so many families and workers in our community. My other question is on the finances, is the relief funding showing on your revenue side currently, do you know?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
We've only received, I think, one part of the funding that I've referred to. I don't know if we've received, although we were informed that our FEMA grant went through. I don't know if we've received the FEMA check. We just received the second round of our state coronavirus relief fund check, I think, yesterday. So that's not showing in this report, but it will start showing soon. And Marcus can share a little bit more if we have further questions about where the money is kind of being distributed. But we've sort of applied it, I think, in the areas where we know the money needs to come from. Yeah. As we prepared our application, we had to say, well, this is the expense that we've incurred because of this pandemic, and sort of applied the financing back towards those areas.
Yeah, thanks to your staff for looking for ways to infill with some of that emergency funding.
Thank you.
The first round of funding was from last year.
Okay.
Any further questions for Skylar?
I'll give him a break.
Executive session, do we have a motion to move to executive session?
I move we go into executive session for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions pursuant to ORS 192.660, Section 1, Item E.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So, did Mr.
heard that, right?
I think so.
Okay. Lost my agenda. Do you have an agenda? I've misplaced
Yeah, I
mine.
just need that back at some
Yeah.
point. See if I have another one.
You should have turned your microphones on.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there. The board has determined to move forward in pursuit of acquisition of Broadway Middle School, a key landmark piece of property in the heart of our community. Our decision is anchored by a strategy for SEPRD. Hold on. The board authorizes Skylar Archibald to engage the services of a real estate agent and to deliver the offer discussed in executive session to the Seaside School District and to report back to the board.
Is that a motion? No.
The strategy for SRPRD is concentrated on 3 fundamental pillars. The first is wellness and recreation opportunities for our residents. The second is the recognition our community is in a childcare desert and that our citizens deserve available and reliable childcare and after-school care as is provided by SEPRD. The third is sports tourism as a current and potentially growing driver for growth in our community as demonstrated by Pacific Basketball League, which brings $10.8 million to our local economy. It is important, as confirmed by early returns of a community survey, that this key property in the heart of our community remains in public trust. The board is committed to performing due diligence in inspections, finance options, and fiscal planning, and is dedicated to transparency and strengthened communications with the community throughout the process. Board comment. Mike, board comment?
I don't, well, we didn't take a motion on that.
We don't have to take a motion, I believe. We just have to make a statement?
I would prefer if you take a motion.
Okay.
We don't need a motion?
Motion.
We're on board
Do we-
comment already?
Do we have a motion to authorize Skylar to engage the services of a real estate
Also
agent?
moved.
Can you-
Second.
Mike, can you read that
Yes.
top part?
I move that the board authorizes Skylar Archibald to engage the services of a real estate agent and to deliver the offer discussed in executive session to the Seaside School District and to report back to the board. The board recognizes the need to preserve public land and the public trust and to maintain indoor recreation space for our community and our youth.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good.
Yeah, sorry, getting tired. Upcoming calendar items, thank you.
So I do want to let you know that tomorrow's farmers market has been canceled. We are very mindful of the air quality right now and just didn't want to put our patrons, to the market staff, or our vendors at risk. Other than that, I'll see you for a workshop tomorrow at 4:15, and we'll discuss some other fun things.
Anything else?
No, I think we can forego the other stuff for now.
Okay, now we are on board comment. Mike?
Okay. Well, I was impressed by the notice we got this week about the Hirsch family making such a large contribution to Seaside Kids' batting cage. I think that's great. I hope the city's okay with naming it the Hirsch family batting cage or whatever. So wouldn't want to step on any toes.
Erica? Board. No, you can say you have.
I don't have a comment.
Sue?
My comment is just I appreciate the diligence and the care that our board is taking to look at all sides of the equation regarding some very serious community events to promote health and wellness, and also to be transparent toward allowing the community concerns to be expressed, and also looking forward to what our future will be to promote that health and wellness, and other opportunities such as the sports tourism and the child care. I think there is so much opportunity, and it's important that we not just hide because of potential fear over money, but we look forward to what our community can offer.
Celeste?
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Sue said, with appreciation for this board in our ability to work together. It's been fantastic to have what feels like a solid group of people committed to forwarding the vision of the district. And also a thank you to Skylar for, with so many things going on, managing that and helping to move things forward for the district. I'm really excited about sort of the next chapter for Sunset Empire Park and Rec District.
I would just like to state, I think we got some good news this week with the Hirsch family donation, and also the funds received through the COVID relief, and also getting the emergency childcare open and running. I know that that brought a great sense of relief to a lot of families, myself included. I appreciate everything that the staff does to provide those opportunities for our community. And on that note, meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
So we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
You think?